how I look at gamification. I'm sure Altu talked about that. One of the easiest way to get started with gamification is to start with game elements. And I think you talked about it earlier today.
Yes.
Leaderboards, points, and those kind of things. That's the wrong way to start. Why is it the wrong way? Because you start at the end and you start adding stuff without thinking why you add it. And it works, but if there's no design around it, then you will not, you don't know what to measure, you don't know what the problem is, what you're going to improve, and then you end up making something that looks really nice, but doesn't have any motivational power behind it. So the definition, this is more like something academic. This describes it, but doesn't explain anything.
It was like that.
The use of, yeah, exactly. So this is the academic approach. The use of game design thinking in a non-game environment, and then to engage people, motivate action, promote learning, and solve problems. Yeah, I mean, once you know gamification, you look at this, say, yeah, that's it. But for someone who doesn't know gamification, you say, okay, what is this? Like, it describes things that I don't understand. Another problem with gamification is there are related areas that are not gamification, but they use the same ingredients, such as serious games and playful design. And I see a lot of examples where companies say, oh, we gamify something, and then they use a game. It's not the same. So it's like you have a hammer and you have a screwdriver. They both help to hang something on the wall, but they're different tools. And they're also for different purpose. Like so it's important to understand when do you need what. Because games are very, very powerful tools, whether we're talking about offline things or online things, but they're very different. Biggest difference is that gamification and playful design is in the real world. So if we're thinking about learning, it's what happens in the classroom, it's what happens on the website that like you're really learning. A game puts you in a virtual world, so you are someone else in like somewhere else, and you can play and you can fail, and it's a different environment. But how do you learn Excel? How do you learn how to use the tools? How do you learn how to talk to your customers? You can start with that in a game, but in the end, you still need to talk to your real customers. So serious games, it can help with the learning from decision making. So without studying, you try something, you fail. Like think about Mario Brothers, you jump over something and you fall in in a hole, and you say, okay, now I die. And then your brain automatically starts thinking, why did I die? How can I improve this? How can I change myself? Should I become better, stronger? So it helps a lot with making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And it places you in a complex contextual situation. So if you are helping people with sales training, then you... Altu, can you lower a little bit? Thanks. So, otherwise you're out of here. One of the powerful things about games is that you can fail, because you know it's a virtual world. If you screw up, like the house gets on fire, the customers leave, it's fine, it's a game. But at some point you need to do this in real life. And this is where it becomes tricky, because you cannot play around with customers. You cannot play around and experiment. And also, if you start rewarding people in a learning environment, imagine that rewarding backfires and you destroy people's motivation. Now you really have a big problem, because you cannot reset, because you're dealing with real people. So gamification solves this very focus is engagement and motivation. So it comes together with something else. It comes together with a learning environment, and it mixes this game thinking with reality. Playful design is more on the level of interaction. It's usually more a thin layer. A good way to show the relationship between games and work and how these dynamics work together very well is that we have these things, these elements of work, and this is how we experience it. Work is repetitive and dull. The feedback you get maybe once a year. If you're lucky, a little bit more often. Your goals are not clear. The path to mastery, how do you become a better salesperson, project manager? It's not very clear. Rules are unclear. Information, either you get too much information and it's not clear what is important for me now, or it's not enough. Failure, like think about what happens if you fail in a company. Like you feel bad, you feel embarrassed. People even get depressed over this, and this is a very powerful negative emotion. The autonomy within companies is very low. Your boss tells you what to do, and the obstacles that you have, they're not designed. They just happen. The printer doesn't work, or you get stuck in traffic, or like these kind of things. They're accidents. So if we look at the same things in games, the tasks are repetitive, but they're fun. So there are a lot of games where, like, think about Candy Crush, you need to do the same thing over and over and over again. But because it's designed in a certain way and it's balanced in a certain way, it's perceived as fun. So that's basically what we try to do. We try to use the right balance to make repetitive things more fun, more meaningful. In games, there's constant feedback. So also, as we talked about with having a watch, like the power of having feedback right away, so even if it's just drink water, that is very, very powerful, because it helps you create this habit, this behavior, which is very powerful. And the goals in games are very clear. Either they're very explicit, so there's a screen that says, now do this, or you figure it out. It's designed to slowly become clear. The path to mastery is clear, rules are very transparent. Information, you get the right information at the right time. So a game doesn't say, in this whole game, you need to know all this. It only says, in level 1, you need to do this. This is the only thing you need to do. And if you think about a game like Angry Birds, you start with one character and a simple task. And you just need to figure out the basics. And slowly, as you progress, the game becomes more complicated, and you learn about the complexity of things. You don't start at the end, you start in a very simple environment. Failure is expected and even encouraged. So because you fail, you can learn. And this is also how the mind starts working. I failed, what did I do wrong? How can I improve this? So if we can take this and apply that to a learning environment, I mean, that would be very, very powerful. The status of users is very clear in the game. This is a very good player, this is a beginner. And in companies, for example, you don't have that. You don't see this is someone with a lot of experience in this. There's no power bar on their shirt says this person is really good at Excel and this person knows customers really well. It's not very clear. Autonomy in games is really high. You have the freedom to play and experiment and do whatever you want. And also a very powerful thing, in games, obstacles are placed there deliberately. And if you look at sports, for example, sports is sort of like the gamification of exercise. So if you look at sports, you say, okay, running is boring, but now I'm going to track your time, and it becomes a little bit more fun. But it's actually an obstacle because you need to now run within a certain time limit. Or if you put people in the field, you give them a ball, you give them some poles, and you say you cannot use your hands, it becomes football. And it's actually obstacles, it's restrictions. I cannot use my hands. But because it's designed, it's more fun. And so we see this evolution of sports where we add rules, we add obstacles. just to make it more fun. So if you think about the athletes, like hurdle run, you're running around the field, but now we're putting fences, so you need to jump over it. I mean, why would you do that? You want to run, right? But because we add these obstacles, it adds this layer of fun. So work is functional, games are fun. So gamification is we try to put this fun into function. We try to combine it, and that's the challenging part. The concept map of gamification, it is not just about game design, but it's a big part of it. It's also the social sciences, so it's the motivation, performance, behavior. These are very, very important things. You need to take that into account. A good game designer also should take that into account, but because we're placing game design in real environment, you need to understand what the consequences are on the culture in the company, the culture in the department. And it's a business solution, so you need to have, you need to think about the business goals. So it's not about entertainment, it's about, I'm making an investment of X amount and I need to improve certain things. So in education it's about Kirkpatrick, like how can I get to Kirkpatrick 4? How do I not only teach people, but how do they learn and how do they apply it? So if you can measure that, then whatever you invest has a good return on investment.
Kirkpatrick, maybe they don't know Kirkpatrick, let me say that.
Okay. Go ahead.
Kirkpatrick'i biliyor musunuz?
Ölçme yöntemi.
Aynen. 5 seviyesi var. Bir eğitimin ölçümleme yöntemi. O referansı verdi, onu biliyorsanız güzel olur. Kirkpatrick birinci seviye bir eğitim sonundaki memnuniyet anketi. Sadece bir eğitimdeki en temel yapılan şey zaten. Eğitim öncesi bir şey yok. Eğitmen girdi, Niels gibi işte çıktı. Biz de değerlendirdik. Hem eğitimi, hem eğitim ortamını, materyalleri falan filan. Kirkpatrick ikinci seviye, eğitim öncesi geldiğinizde o eğitimle ilgili, oyunlaştırma gibi düşünün. Bir teste sokuyorlar sizi. Dışarı olabilir, fark etmez. Anlık olabilir, soru cevap olabilir, yazılı olabilir. Bilgi seviyeni ölçüyor hızlıca. Eğitim bitiyor. Eğitim bittikten sonra tekrar aynı testi yapıyor. Aynısı olması lazım. Sonra oradaki farkı ölçümlüyor. %30 gibi karar ver. Farka göre.
Tekrar test tekniğini.
Ön test, son test.
Post testte farkı ölçümleyebiliyorsa o başarılı olmuş oluyor. %30 kabul edenler var. Üçüncü seviye, siz eğitimi aldınız, işe gittiniz. Tamam mı? İşte bu davranış değişikliğine dönüyor mu? Yani bunu sizi takip ediyorlar. Acaba bu işte
Kalıcılık testi.
Evet, satış eğitimi aldın. Bir taktik var diyelim. Çarpaz satış yapıyorsun. Tamam, Migros kasiyerisin. Döndün, tamam öğrendin, burada role-playing yaptın bilmem ne ama kasiyere döndün, kasaya. Müşteriye önermiyorsun. Bir şekilde ya çekiniyorsun, ya unuttun, ya ne bileyim hayata dönmüyor mesela. Bunu ölçümlemeye çalışıyorlar. Bunu genelde işte ne diyorlar? Ghost yani hayalet müşteriyle veya çağrıyla falan neyse o tarz şeyler ya da gizli müşteriyle, yöneticisiyle veya koçuyla birilerini atayarak falan takip edebiliyorlar. Seviye 4'te ne vardı? Şimdi 3'ü söyledik, davranış değişikliği dedik. Seviye 4'te de organizasyonu etkilemesi. Yani senin yaptığın bu satış, bu beraber bütün bir organizasyon. Yani ben yapıyorum, benim yanımdaki de etkileniyorum benimle beraber. Bunun takibi organizasyon seviyede. Seviye 5 Kirkpatrick değil ama daha sonra eklenmiş bir şey. ROI deniyor onda, Return of Investment. Ben bu herife bu eğitimi verirken 5.000 lira verdim adam mesela. Tamam, bu adam döndü, satış önerdi, okey, hepsi zaten üst üste tamam mı? Hani yaptı. Bunun bana getirisi karşılığı kazancı ne oldu? Kazancı döndü mü?
5.000 yatırdım mı 15.000 bana
Alabildim mi? Bunun üstüne 5. seviye yapılabiliyor. Okay, thank you.
So this is applicable for when you make decisions about training, or if you want to use games, or you want to use gamification, or the combination of that. It's about like where are people, like which level in Kirkpatrick are there, and so what's the purpose of this? Is it to go from 1 to 2 or from 2 to 3? So therefore, it's really important. And so if you start with applying the game element, then you're just adding fun. You're just adding entertainment, and you're not thinking about where are we and where do I want to take them. So psychology is one of these core elements, and it's about related that equals irrational behavior. Because if you think about rationale, and this is how a lot of people in companies think, if I pay someone, they will do their job. If I pay them more, they will do their job better. But it's not the case. The payment is only a small part of why people do their job. Company culture, how they feel, how they see themselves, the status. Like there are so many things that make the job important and why you want to do something. So you need to take those kind of things into account. You can split psychology into two parts. There's behaviorism, so there's Skinner box, Pavlov's dog. This is conditioning, which can be very helpful with building habits and just establishing how we do stuff. And if you think about habits and you extend that, then you get to culture. So then you get corporate culture. This is how we do things. The other side is the one that I like most, and this is also most relevant for learning. This is the self-determination theory. This is about intrinsic motivation. So it's going away from my people do something because they get paid, and moving them to I love my job. I love going to work. Yes, I get paid, but I love my job. So if we can get to that, then you really have a good impact on the environment. So it's about designing for motivation and using rewards. It's not designing for rewards. It's not I'm going to give you badges. It's using badges as a way to get to I want to do this. I love my whole job, or I love these little things. And then love is can be like little love or extreme love. It's just enjoyment. Did you talk about the different kinds of fun?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same as fun. It's not like, woo, I love my job, but it's like, it's rewarding. So just doing it is giving me a positive feeling. But we're using rewarding. Because one of the reasons is because we're conditioned to do stuff for stuff. Like the classical lotto question is, what would you do if you didn't need to earn money because you're a millionaire? We don't live in that world. There are only few people who live in that world, so we need to get paid. But we can use rewarding in a variety of ways. And this is a model that Gabe Zickerman came up with. And it has 4 components. It's status, access, power, and stuff. And starting at the end, stuff is what you get paid. It is maybe getting a car from, like you get a salary and you get a car and you get a phone. Like it's stuff. This is obviously really powerful. People are motivated because of it, but it doesn't last very long. As soon as you get stuff, then that stuff becomes yours and no longer serves as a motivator. And it's expensive. If you want to think about marketing, if you want to motivate people by giving stuff, and your campaign becomes really successful, then you need to give a lot of times something. So think about Coca-Cola. They're giving away free glasses, and imagine that now everyone starts buying Coca-Cola, then they need to give away a lot of glasses, and that's expensive. So if you can move towards status, then it can become cheaper. So for example, we move to power. And power could be, if you buy a lot of Coca-Cola, next time Coca-Cola has a concert, you can vote who's going to be singing. So you have the power to select which artist we, as Coca-Cola Turkey, are going to bring to Turkey. So we're not giving away stuff, but we're giving you power, we're giving you influence. And that is a lot cheaper, and it's more meaningful. Like, if you can tell your friends, I was the one who decided that this band should come to Turkey. It's way more meaningful. You would never tell your friends, "Oh, I got a free glass with Coca-Cola." I mean, you don't talk about it, but it's more meaningful. It lasts longer, and access would be not only did I vote, I was also able to go to the VIP section of the concert. Or in a business context, I was able to have dinner with our CEO. So it's way more powerful, it lasts longer, people want to get it, they are able, if you design it well, they're more interested to get to that point, and once they have it, they're also more likely to talk about it and still experience a positive feeling. And status is the longest lasting rewarding mechanism and also the relatively the cheapest. So status, if you think about airline programs, is being a platinum member. So it doesn't cost anything. You get a card with a different color, and when you come to the airport, you can check in somewhere else. And when the people are boarding, you're the first person to board. But that itself doesn't cost anything. But the feeling people get, look, I can join the airplane first, and look at how important I am. That is such a powerful thing. And it's really stupid, but we humans are sometimes really stupid, and it works really well. So we do use these rewards, but if you use them, then try to get from this rewarding to motivation. So it's a tool to get to intrinsic motivation if you can. And it very much depends on culture. Like the culture of the country, the culture of the company. If people don't care about the company, if the culture inside the company is really bad, it's really difficult to get to intrinsic motivation by just adding some basic gamification. Then you need to do some real change management projects to change the company culture. So motivation, intrinsic motivation, I love my job. Like the thing I do because I like it. Extrinsic motivation, I like to do my job because it pays well. I like to do my job because I get status. So, for example, being a teacher, if people say, oh, this person is a teacher, like the hoja, this respect, so that is, you might not like the job itself, but you might like saying, I'm a teacher, I'm proud of that. So you might have a horrible class with like awful kids, but when you're amongst adults and say, oh, you're a teacher, or I'm a lawyer, or I'm a doctor, that part is really rewarding. So that's the extrinsic motivation part. And then how it works, so there's action, a single behavior or something. Motivation is the stuff that pushes you, that makes you do stuff, and the reward is the thing that follows it. So that's the logic flow of it. Motivation is the thing that triggers and